We begin our program with the highly anticipated launch of Kenya's standard gauge railway. After more than a century, Kenya is betting on a new Chinese-built route to cement its position as the gateway to East Africa. President Uhuru Kenyatta will see off the first cargo train later today, while the first passenger coach will undertake the 472-kilometer journey on Wednesday. The multi-billion-dollar railway links the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, with the port of Mombasa. It will reduce the cost of transporting goods inland and cut travel time from 10+ hours to less than 5. The next leg of the SGR will connect Nairobi with the Rift Valley town of Naivasha. Authorities have hailed the economic benefits of the train.
If you look at all developed countries globally, whether in the US, Europe, Far East, China, Japan, there's no country which has ever developed without having a very robust, railway system. No country. Ours has been much cheaper, but also ours is what we call first class, class 1. The one for Ethiopia, as a matter of fact, is what they call class 2. Ours is able to carry more cargo because, for example, in ours you can carry double-stacked containers. And therefore, it is actually more efficient and more cost-effective. We anticipate and we have estimated GDP will grow by at least an additional 1.5%. Like I said, people talk about the cost, but if you look at GDP growing by additional 1.5%, it will mean about $1.4 billion additional to our revenues as a country. That way we can pay back this cost of the railway within about 4 years.
Well, our team is on the ground ahead of that launch, and CGTN's Young now joins us live from Mombasa. Rama, of course, plenty on the go that side at the port today, and indeed inspecting the cargo train is on that to-do list. What more can you tell us about that?
Yes, indeed. Of course, we've spoken quite a bit about the cargo element of this particular new rail line that has been built, or rather still is being built. There are about 2 more phases to go. You can actually see the cargo containers, rather the carriages that will be carrying the containers behind me on my left. And of course, on the right, these are the locomotives that will be hauling the cargo right up from the port of Mombasa, where we are right now. This is actually Port Reet, all the way up inland into Nairobi, Kisumu, and of course eventually into the Ugandan border once that stretch of the line is complete, all the way to the border with Malaba. Here's the importance of cargo though. This port handled 27.4 million tons of cargo last year alone. That figure has been growing by over 5% year on year on year. The problem, though, has been that 90 to 95% of that cargo has been leaving the port by road, and that's simply not sustainable. In order to make this rail competitive, however, the idea for Kenya Railways is to charge about $500 per container to move it inland. That's a hell of a lot less than the current figure that road transporters are charging, which is anywhere between $800 to $850 each. Cargo revenue is estimated to be anywhere between 90 to 95% of the entire rail line's revenue once, of course, it is fully operational. Passenger bits, however, will probably account for roughly about 5% of total revenue. That said, the passenger service, of course, is something worth exploring. It's gotten a lot of attention over this period of time. Here's Maria Galang on the train a little earlier.
Final checks on the train that's been called a game changer for Kenya. The SGR between Mombasa and Nairobi has been under construction for 2.5 years. Now it's ready for passengers, and we're among the first to get you a look inside.
Now, previously, this journey to Mombasa would take about 12 hours. On the standard gauge railway, they're aiming to cut that travel time to under 5 hours. Now, the train has just departed from the station in Nairobi. It's 7:48 in the morning. We'll check up later on how long it actually takes to get to Mombasa.
The train has a first class and an economy class, but rarely has budget travel been so comfortable. At least not when compared to the SGR's predecessor. Every carriage has an attendant. Another important upgrade, air conditioning.
So this is the first class cabin. There's a lot more legroom here in comparison to economy, and a few more added comforts like this tray table. You can put your drinks or your snacks on. There's also a power point for you to charge your devices during the long journey ahead, and the seat also reclines for added comfort.
As the train passes through the Tsavo National Park, passengers get to experience a mini safari too, from the comfort of their carriage. But just how many people can this train carry?
You see, this coach is the capacity is about 106 people, and for the whole trains we have the 15 coaches. So that means the whole capacity from, for example, from Nairobi to Mombasa, it can accommodate 1,590 people.
And we've finally arrived in Mombasa. It's 12:53, so about 5 minutes behind schedule, but not bad for a test run.
The train will make a daily return trip between Mombasa and Nairobi, with 7 stops along the way. Maria Galang, CGTN, Mombasa, Kenya.
Of course, in addition to the story there from Maria Galang, it's worth pointing out first-class tickets are going to be going for about $30, roughly equivalent. And of course, economy class tickets at about $9 or so. It should be interesting to see what effect that has, of course, on passenger transit, and see if we're going to have a shift from people using the buses, which take roughly 10 to 12 hours, coming onto the train instead. There's an express service that is planned for this line. It will take roughly 4 to 4.5 hours to get from Nairobi onto Mombasa. Let's get back to where we are, however, the port of Mombasa. It is the biggest in East Africa. As I mentioned a little earlier, this port handles over 27 million tons of cargo every single year, and the old meter gauge rail line has simply not been able to actually carry a lot of that. Last year, for example, it only did about 1.47 million tons of cargo, 5% of what came through this port. And you can't really talk about building an entirely new rail line without talking as well about the expansion of the port, not just here in Mombasa, but also the construction of an entirely new one up in Lamu. Here's Soni Matthew with more.
This is the gateway to East Africa and East Africa's gateway to the rest of the world. A string of countries rely on the port for essential imports such as fuel, even food.
Kenya's second city, home to more than 1 million, and a tradition of trade dating back at least 1,000 years. There's been a port of some sort here for much of that time. This one is now a linchpin for economies across the region. This new berth is helping ease congestion. It was built by China Road and Bridge Corporation, the same company that built the SGR. The near 70 million upgrade is part of a broader revamp at the port, involving the construction of a second container terminal. Other big plans include the development of free trade zones near the port, more dredging so the port can accommodate bigger ships, and expanding inland storage capacity. The SGR will transfer cargo from the port to this new storage space. That's going to speed up turnaround times for new arrivals at the port, meaning countries such as Rwanda, the DR Congo, and Ethiopia will receive their much-needed imports far quicker. Already, the revamp is paying off. Total traffic through the port hit a record last year, and profits jumped 45%. And that's before the new rail link is even open.
Mombasa's key role in East Africa's development stretches back centuries. Now, with the expanded port and the standard gauge rail, the city is said to play a central role well into the future too. Soni Matthew, CGTN, Mombasa, Kenya.
Indeed, just to give you a sense of just how busy this port gets on average, and this was way back in 2015, so the number's probably gone up since then. On average, every single day, you've got at least 5,000 trucks leaving this port with cargo going inland. So if you can display some of those off the road. You can imagine the sort of cost savings that you're looking at, not just in time, but also in money as well. Now, this rail line, this entire rail line, is essentially right now a $7.3 billion bet on the future of the Kenyan economy, trying to essentially ease out all the logistical bottlenecks that we face for so many decades. The company that's been building it, as you've probably heard in all the previous packages, is a Chinese Road and Bridge Corporation. Here's a conversation with that company's chairman, Lu Shan.
Mr. Lu, thank you very much for talking to us. So this project, the standard gauge railway, was supposed to be completed in 5 years. It's now been 2.5 and it's operational. How does that feel?
Oh, of course, this is a very significant project for the CRBC. It's not only one of the biggest projects that we have constructed overseas, but also is a whole chain value chain project, including Chinese standards, Chinese design, Chinese construction, Chinese manufacturing, and we are going to sign the operational contract with the Kenya authority. So this project contains a lot of elements. It also will enhance the CRBC's, upgrade CRBC strategy to another high level.
What about the final touches? What's still left before the train is fully operational, both for passengers and eventually for cargo?
I think as we have already commissioned this the project for three months, we eliminate all the potential error, and we feel that it's the right time to open for the commercial operation. But still, we are very cautious because we have to make sure the safety is the priority. So we paid great attention to safeguard every element to have secured 100% of the operational safety.
Tell us about how this train has been designed, especially for the Kenyan landscape, and also touch a little bit about corporate social responsibility when it came to this project and catering to the Kenyan communities that live along the railway.
Yeah, when we initiated this project, we worked closely with Kenya Railway Authority. We know this is the Kenya's railway. We have to, to obey the Kenya rule and respect local culture, and especially we have to make this railway suitable for the Kenya community. So we work very closely with the local authority, local partner, and local people. So from very initial stage, we pay a great attention. And then when we have this project, we feel we're very close to local society. We not only build a project, we think we have to accelerate this economic development and also contribute to local society, to local people.
Yes, indeed. That, of course, was a conversation with Lu Shan, the chair of the China Road and Bridge Corporation. Now, it's worth pointing out, of course, that Kenya Railways is currently in conversation with John Holland. It's an Australian firm to manage the rail line. We still don't know the exact details of exactly how that management arrangement will be working out, what sort of fee structure we're looking at, of course, for the rail line as well. We did reach out for comment from John Holland last week. They have not, however, returned to us. Essentially, they've declined to comment on the matter, but we'll get that information to you as soon as we have it. Now, of course, managing a rail line of this magnitude isn't just a question of putting in the concrete sleepers and putting in the iron that essentially makes the rail tracks. The people that make the entire thing work and work properly. We spoke to some of them a little earlier.
It's a nice experience, like getting the jobs and us as youths getting that experience, since the railway's been a long time. It's really been a long time, so now the railway project is here in Kenya. It will ease up the transport and reduce accidents and create more employment for the youths.
It's going to be cheaper, it's going to be safer, there won't be a lot of accident on the roads like the way we are used to. So as far as we are concerned, we know that road transport has got a lot of safety in it. So it's safer, cost effective, and it's going to be even faster because it's going to be using 4.5 hours to 5 hours to get to Mombasa. So it's convenient for everybody to use it.
From the experience we're getting right now, we're getting little and bits, and we're getting experience day by day. So when it is handed over to us, I think we are good to go.
We have music, we have the good lighting, we have comfortable seats, we have 2 clean toilets, we have the wash basin so you clean your hands, we have the mirrors almost in every side of the coach. But the old one, since I have boarded, we don't have music. When you enter the train, you don't feel at home. It's just an empty space compared to the new train. There are so many seats, it's cozy.
All right then, so comments there from some of the people who will of course be running this train line. If you do eventually take it once it starts operations, they will probably run into some of them a little later on. But that's it from Mombasa at this particular hour. It's a $7.3 billion bet, and the government here hopes that they will eventually convince a lot of the people importing cargo through the port of Mombasa and exporting it as well to move at least 40% of that off the road and get it onto these cargo trains. Will they hack it? We'll find out. Lindy, back to you.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Raman Yang, there in Mombasa for us. And the team there certainly focusing on the magnitude of the SGR, what it will mean for Kenya and the greater East African region. We'll be getting regular updates from the team on the ground in the run-up to that highly anticipated launch.